Come on. Come on. Here we go. Honda Pilot. There you go. All right.
Yeah.
We got it going. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You
Uh-huh.
guys have a Pilot and a Bronco? I
Yeah,
was
the Bronco.
watching one of my favorite YouTube channels, Trail Recon, and he's a Jeep guy. But he got a new Bronco, so he took that. He did like an off-road test. Was talking about it, and has like the 12-inch screen, the front-facing cameras and stuff for off-roading. That would be incredible.
Right.
Anyway, we'll do our Ford Lightning review later. All right, let's do this thing. All electric, baby, and like 1,000 horsepower. There's a freaking 4-door Tesla that has 1,000 horsepower.
Wow.
Yeah, the Plaid. I'm like, okay. I'm still old gas-powered horsepower guy, but that's me because I'm old. All right, 3, 2, 1. Wild card weekend is here, ladies and gentlemen, and we got some bangers. That's what the kids say, Bloom, this week in the wild card round, starting with Vegas and Cincinnati, the Raiders and the Bengals. Now, forgive me, Bloom, because it's been a year since we've done these shows. I don't know if we do these all together or if we do it. I think we just kind of go back and forth. I think playoffs is like a little laissez-faire. If I had my robe on, I would just undo a button and I would sit back and we just go back and forth. But this game is exciting. Not that I'm rooting for the Raiders, because I don't know if that's possible as a Steelers fan who covers the Broncos. But Rich Bisaccia, you got to be rooting for that guy. And then on the Bengals side, Bloom, you have to be rooting for Joe Burrow.
Exactly.
And everybody, that T. Higgins, everybody that they have there. Joe Mixon, right? Back off the Coof list or whatever list he was on. Was it the Coof list or was it something else? Either way, I look at this situation, I go, I kind of like both. I like the story of both of these teams heading into this game.
Yeah, that's the thing. As we look at rooting interests on many levels, as fans, the way the NFL turns out, we want there to be some justice or something that makes it make sense or be for something. And the Raiders, what they've endured this year, Cincinnati, what they've suffered through. 31 years since they've won a playoff game, Cease. 31 years. I want it to end. 31 years since they just won a playoff game.
How many of our listeners aren't even 31 years old?
Right. Probably not that many. And the Raiders, I think they've been to the playoffs like once in the last, or since the Super Bowl, they've been to the playoffs like twice. Like that's almost 20 years, right? And these are, especially the Raiders, like proud franchises. We say this a lot on the show. The NFL's better when the Raiders are good.
Yes.
But getting down to the nuts and bolts of this matchup, and we have a record here. The teams did play each other. It was 32-13, Cincinnati. Now, the game was kind of tight until the fourth quarter, and then Cincinnati pulled away. You mentioned Rich Bisaccia, and see, you have to like this, right? Isn't an interim head coach mindset exactly the kind of mindset you want in the playoffs?
Yeah,
right?
I don't give a blah, blah, blah.
Let's play to win.
Yeah.
Which, should
Nobody
be
expects us to win.
Right. Now, the wins they strung off to get to the playoffs, beating Nick Mullins, beating Carson Wentz as he was swirling down the drain.
Beating Drew Lock.
Beating Drew Lock. Right. They did have that win over the Chargers that we'll all remember. So the momentum isn't necessarily there in terms of these wins, but you do have Darren Waller back. Zay Jones is starting to make things happen. You have Deshaun Jackson as an X factor here. Maybe even Brian Edwards, who made a few plays a few weeks ago. But you also have a formidable Cincinnati defense. A really good defense, Cease. Really good. Like, up front, you've got Hendrickson and Hubbard. On the outside, you've got Ogunjobi and Reeder. Logan Wilson is starting to play Wyoming Cowboys, baby. In the secondary, Mike Hilton. Remember Mike Hilton? Oh, man. It's nice to watch football when Mike Hilton is on your team, They have Eli Apple, who's playing out of his mind this year. He had a big interception in that first game. So I just want to go this direction with it, even though I'm wearing my black and gold, like childhood Steelers ski cap here. This Bengals team on paper, Cease. And what else do we say about teams that can make a run in January? It's healthy. They're healthy. They're a healthy team. I mean, they're pretty much about as full strength as you could ask in January. So could this be that springboard? And, as I toss it back to you on the Bengals side, like I'm feeling this Bengals team. I think the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl, but if it ain't the Chiefs, I think it's the Bengals.
Spoiler alert
Yeah,
for our
yeah.
later saying goodbye to Big Ben. I saw a meme somebody was floating around about a Big Ben retirement party brought to you by Kansas City. Like,
Good barbecue. Someone who's
thought it was
catering.
funny. Yeah, well, Big Ben's like Dante and Clerks. I'm not even supposed to be here today,
Right,
but it
right.
is a Steelers show, but it is a Bengals show, and the Bengals deserve the spotlight, man. The Bengals deserve that shine, that promotion because of kind of breaking the curse, right? That's why we talk about the 31 years. We want them to break the curse, and Joe Burrow breaks the curse. By the way, it was Joe Mixon activated from the COOF list on Monday, so he'll be ready to go. He'll lead the way on the ground. That'll set up play action passing, and look at all these weapons. All the tools that Joe Burrow has. The Bengals are an easy team to root for. So as you're wearing black and gold and I'm wearing orange and blue.
There you go.
Well, hey, orange is close enough
Orange
to
and
what
black.
the Bengals will be rocking.
Yeah, and there's Joe Burrow, and it's so easy to root for him. And
Yes.
it's easy because in terms of the Bengals and the imprinting of the history, see, this is like more of that mystical stuff. Of course, you and I get off on this stuff, but other people might not dig on it as much. Where
Get a little crunchy with this.
The memory, the collective memory of a franchise affects what happens.
The vibration.
Right. Well, it's the ghosts almost, right? And there's the ghost of Carson Palmer, right? Kimo Van Olhoffen.
They would have won that game, by the way.
And maybe
I know
the Steelers won the Super Bowl that year.
Will be like, you're just a fake fan. No. I'm just
No,
honest about
they
the
were well on
Steelers
their
thing.
way. They were well on their way, and the Steelers won the Super Bowl that year. The Steelers won the Super Bowl, and the Bengals should have beaten them. Anyway, my point is that Joe Burrow already had his Carson Palmer moment last year, right? And they put the scar on prominent display in the promo materials. That's Burrow.
That was
right?
almost the pushback, mystically, Bloom. That was the pushback against it. Be like, you think this is bad? No, we're going to throw it in your face.
Yeah. So the offensive line has been good. How many times have we said that about a Bengals team? Quentin Spain, a big pickup, a real underrated pickup there. You have the realization, Cease, of Burrow. This is where the investment is. Burrow, Higgins, Chase, Boyd, and now it's giving defenses problems. And we're back to that where, for a little while, this offense was defining itself by running the ball with Joe Mixon, but they've really found themselves with Joe Burrow throwing downfield, especially to Higgins and Chase. And see, he's throwing them open. It's like this. If you can see the back of the defender's jersey, throw it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful, Cease, because it's something that all of these different measurements and things can't really anticipate. That a quarterback that knows that I can throw into these tight windows, but with my guys, with Chase and Higgins, we got this. So that's what, again, is exciting about this team potentially making a run, because that's how they came back from a 28-14 deficit against Kansas City. Now, X factors on the offensive side here would probably be CJ Uzomah, who's been banged up. But we've seen a couple of games where he's been let run loose because of the problems covering these receivers' face, and he's had a couple of big games. But on the other side of the ball, we still have Max Crosby, still have Yannick Ngakoue, so they could make some noise, maybe make some game-turning plays.
That is really weak. I know that they stacked the line of stuff to run against the Broncos.
Right.
Well, that works with Drew Lock. That ain't going to work with Joe Burrow, man. Mixon's going to run wild in this one.
Yeah, I would think that this is a Bengals get off on the right foot game, and then they wait around to see who they're going to play. And if it's Kansas City, will they just beat Kansas City? If it's Tennessee, they, I think, match up very well with Tennessee.
That's right. By the way, William says, I had a pager last time the Bengals won a playoff game.
Yeah. Is it a Tribe Called Quest song or something like that, Scott?
Had to pull over and use a phone booth. Yeah, there we go. We're old, but that's the last time the Bengals did anything. So there you go. Always good to see Mookie here in the chat room as well. All right, Mookie, let's talk New England Patriots and Buffalo Bills. I'm torn on this one, Bloom, because the Bills should run rampant, right? If my heart and even the analyst side of my brain says, look at this game, it's in Buffalo, the Bills should run rampant over the Patriots. And then I think Belichick. So I'm having a real tough time figuring out where to throw down some ducats on New England or Buffalo because of Belichick. On paper, Buffalo should crush them.
Right.
But this game isn't played on paper.
Right. The rubber match. Don't we love it when we get rubber matches in the playoffs?
Yes.
That's awesome. It's awesome. Even when it's the other team, one of the teams won 2 games, like last year when the Saints had swept the Bucks and the Bucks beat the Saints in the playoffs. Anyway, so this is fun. And of course, the most oddly compelling football game I can remember, was that Buffalo-New England game in the wind where New England threw the ball like 3 times, and they still eked out a win. Everything had to break their way for New England to win that game. And then Buffalo went to New England and soundly beat them 33-21. And on paper, like you said, Buffalo should soundly beat them for any number of reasons. But there's Belichick. There was a picture from the Miami game, of Belichick pulling something out of his sock. Isn't that it, right? Like from the reality show standpoint of this matchup, it's like you can look at all the arsenal that the Bills are bringing in, but here's Belichick, and you know that he has some sort of booby trap set or something. You don't know. We're not going to know until we see it.
The wrestler who's got the razor blade.
Yes, the foreign object. The foreign object, exactly.
Yeah.
The razor blade's for the blood. The foreign object is the force object. Anyway, and you just know that there's something that he's going to have to maybe trip up Josh Allen, who has been playing well, right? So let's get into the nuts and bolts here. Look, on the New England side, Mac Jones. This is why it's easy for me to pick Buffalo. Mac Jones. This is why. Because I just think that usually a rookie quarterback is going to bend, if not break, under the first postseason experience. And Mac Jones, we've seen that the tougher the situation he's in, Mac Jones has been excellent when everything executes as planned. But when it doesn't, he's not a quarterback who's going to be resourceful. And I think that playoff football is going to have more of that. Everything gets tighter. So that's a problem. They have to keep this somehow on the game script where they can just keep running the ball and attack the Bills' run defense. Maybe it might work. Jacoby Myers. Let Jacoby Myers throw some passes. Not a passes. Passes. I mean, I think that Belichick is willing to do that kind of stuff too. I think Belichick is willing to. He probably understands the limitations of Mac Jones and how many points this offense can really put up with Mac Jones and what they can create with the running game of Mac Jones. So we'll see something out of the bag of tricks. The X factor on the Buffalo side, defensively, I see here, is Gregory Rousseau, who's shown that his production was valid at Miami, the year off. Notice we haven't even talked about that, Cease. By the way, rookies that took a year off. Jamar Chase. How's it going to affect them? Joe Tryon being away from football. I think we're going to probably see that teams that just ignored that basically made out better in the draft. Certainly Gregory Rousseau has done that for the Bills.
Yes, and teams that paid attention to that, well, sorry, you're dumb. Oh, boy. Buffalo is going to be 3 degrees.
Perfect.
According to NFL weather right now, no snow. It's probably too cold to snow if it's 3 degrees. So yeah, I'm looking at NFLweather.com right now, and that's a 3. Mm-hmm. Every other game, we do have a little bit of maybe some rain in the Buccaneers game, which we'll get to in just a second, Bloom. But cold football sounds like Devin Singletary time for Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I think that certainly this is a game for Buffalo where it's just going to come down to Josh Allen. Now, Devin Singletary doing more helps give them balance as some sort of counterpunch. But the counterpunch is more like a jab. It's something they can use to set up the Josh Allen punches. It's still a Josh Allen offense. They're still going to live and die by Josh Allen. And Josh Allen was in a slump. Last 2 games, he hasn't been good, period. And not against tough defenses, really. It's a little bit, the Falcons, the Jets. You having trouble with these pass defenses? You having trouble just moving the team up and down the field? You're throwing interceptions. The interceptions against the Falcons were cringeworthy. They were the plays you remember seeing on Miami Cowboys, baby, the film, and saying, those are the plays he has to eliminate if he's going to be okay in the NFL. And he was making them again against the Falcons, and they still won, so it's okay, right? Well, the Patriots might not be so merciful. And that's, again, why you feel like this is Buffalo in a lot of different ways, but there's this Allen and Belichick wild card factor on wild card weekend. You are getting Emmanuel Sanders back. So, again, you look at Dawson Knox, what he's done this year now. So, compare it to last year. Remember, this offense stalled out, right? See, this was the sound during, you talk about cars. Here's my little car take. This was the sound during the AFC title game.
Well, it is 3 degrees. You better have a battery, baby.
Right, exactly. You use your antifreeze. I'm just saying. So, and even when they won against Baltimore, even when they won against the Colts last year, it wasn't impressive. It wasn't Josh Allen playing his A football. It wasn't even Josh Allen playing B football, except for like small stretches. So they can't have that. And so in some ways, getting New England right out of the gate is going to wake them up. It's like the sniffing salt to be like, you might have thought Super Bowl, but first you have to get past this test that is always tricky. There's always trick questions. So this is a fantastic primetime game on Saturday night.
It's a fantastic game for Buffalo to start with because they get to exercise the demons immediately. Mm-hmm. There's no sleeping or sleepwalking in this wild card round. Moving on as we go to Sunday, it's Philadelphia and Tampa Bay. This one's one of the least interesting games.
No.
And, I blame Philadelphia. Yeah. I blame Philadelphia, Bloom.
Yeah, these teams played with 28-22, but it wasn't really that close. It was like 28-7 in the second half. Ended up 28-22. On paper, this one looks... Ugh. I mean, look, Philadelphia got a first-round pick and more for Carson Wentz, and they made the playoffs, and Jalen Hurts was good enough that they don't have to feel hemmed in to drafting a quarterback next year. They can see what happens. They have 3 picks in like the 15 to... Well, we'll see where their pick ends up range. But, everything is looking up for this franchise right now. So just you're happy with that. Very different picture than the other side of the state sees when we get to the Steelers. Anyway, what I want to see here is Nick Sirianni. We're doing psychoanalysis here. Do you understand that you're a 16 seed against a 1 seed? Will you pull out all the stops? You can't run the ball on the Bucs, and that's how the Eagles revive their season.
Right.
So do you come in and just concede the run? Do you just concede it? And I know when they went pass heavy with Jalen Hurts, it wasn't pretty. But if there's a route to winning this game, that's how it's going to be. Yeah.
Jalen Hurts. By the way,
Right.
Shaq Barrett back for the Buccaneers. But do they
Right.
trust Jalen Hurts? My answer is no, because they made that switch because of Jalen Hurts. They made the switch. They've been playing playoff football for a while now because playoff football is about running the ball, stopping the run.
Right.
Well, they are not going to be able to run against Tampa, and
Right.
they don't trust. If they were creative, Bloom, if they had rational coaching, there's your drink.
Right.
Then we might be able to say Philadelphia's got a shot here.
Yeah, and if you're really going to go for it, and it's another one of those Rorschach tests, craft your passing game plan to beat this Tampa Bay secondary because you have a good offensive line. You have a good pass blocking offensive line. And if Hurts goes out and he's not executing the first 2-3 drives, put Minshew out there. I mean, again, 16 seed against a 1 seed.
Bold take, Cotton.
Well, what I'm trying to say is they're not sold on Hurts anyway.
No.
And a pass, I mean, look, and this is where we get to the nuts and bolts of this game. I mean, you have Dallas Goedert. You have Devontae Smith. You even have Quez Watkins who can at least stretch the defense. But you have a quarterback who can take advantage of the good matchups against players in the Tampa secondary, knowing that you're going to have to keep up with Tom Brady against the Philadelphia the Eagles defense that pass-wise is just atrocious. So going into this game that you can't settle for field goals. Going into this game that you're going to have to try to possess the ball against a team you can't run the ball against. Now, that doesn't mean Miles Sanders is irrelevant. Because what do we remember about Miles Sanders? If he can get past the first level of defense, he can take off.
Yes.
And it was a hand injury, so there's nothing wrong as far as his lower body explosiveness right now or anything like that. So maybe you have some situations where maybe you give Sanders a draw play on like 2nd and long or something like that out of the shotgun. Or I don't know. You still sprinkle him in. But it's much more interesting to talk about when Philadelphia has the ball because when Tampa has the ball, I mean, no Antonio Brown, no Chris Godwin, but it's Philadelphia's pass defense. Darius Slay might make some noise. But otherwise, Leonard Fournette's going to be back. Brashad Perryman, there's your X factor. I mean, isn't that the embarrassment of riches that the Bucs have, Cease? I mean, yeah, they lost Godwin and they lost Brown, but Brashad Perryman can provide at least like half of either of those guys in terms of tactical value, and
Didn't
he has
Brown
rapport.
lose himself?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
And he does
Yeah,
have
that's
rapport
true.
and he has motivation. If you're talking about Perriman for the Eagles side, Bloom. Before we fully dive into the Buccaneers, I think draw play screen passes, use their pass rush against him, and then I think, struggle targets. Dallas Goedert should have 10 targets in this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and then just keep beating him over the head like Baltimore does with Mandrew and be like, well, you're either going to stop us or you're not. And it doesn't matter. We're going to keep going after you.
And Goddard is a target, Cease. What you need is Jalen Hurts to think like Joe Burrow does with Higgins and Chase. If I can see the back of the defender's jersey, I'm going to throw it, right? I mean, you're not going to win a playoff game by only throwing to open receivers, especially against Tampa. So we'll see. We'll see. So I'm afraid this is a game where we're going to see more of Jalen Hurts' limitations and why you can win with him but not because of him. But maybe he could surprise us. Maybe Nick Sirianni could surprise us. At least the fact that we're talking about this Eagles team in the playoffs, that's a surprise anyway.
That is a surprise anyway. And the Buccaneers side, no surprise. Leonard Fournette back. Yeah. Gio Bernard back as well. So there you go. Fournette can do what he wants to do. And then Tommy Brady will try to hit Mike Evans and Rob Gronkowski. And we already know the combination for Tampa Bay. So this one for Tampa, for me, Bloom, at home in the drizzle, by the way, NFLweather.com, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like 66 and rain in this one. Get out of there with no injuries.
Yeah.
That's it. Get out of there with no injuries.
Cease, this is the sequel. The sequel really starts now. I mean, the season had Tampa Bay, Dallas to open, and that was a really interesting game. We might get Tampa Bay, Dallas again next week. Maybe we'll get an NFC title game somehow. That was a good game. It will be a good game in the playoffs if we get it again. But isn't this the sequel? Cease, sequels were just like a new thing when we were kids, right? But what would the sequel always start out with? Like, what have these characters been up to since the last time we saw them, right? Like the first movie ends with the Super Bowl, and it really didn't start in week one. It starts now. We're going to meet back up in the playoffs, and we're going to do this again. And that's why all of a sudden everybody's healthy, right?
Right.
Vontae David's healthy. It's Leonard Fournette's healthy. Like, let's all just get healthy and do this again. And this is a tune-up matchup for them. It would be shocking if it was close. Brady continuing to show that he can get it done. Hey, if it's Tyler Johnson, if it's Cameron Brate, if it's maybe Cyril Grayson, we'll see if he has a hamstring injury. So even if he has to go down the ticket and it isn't just Evans and Gronk, but Evans and Gronk is probably enough. Gronk looking a little slower. Perryman again mixed in there. Fournette doing what he does. It feels inevitable that Tom Brady is always going to be in the mix when it's January.
And Tom Brady's going to be the mix. And we move on to Kyle Shanahan.
Ooh.
And Dallas. Is Kyle Shanahan a good coach? Well, beat Dallas, and you will quiet anybody that's still remaining saying that. The 49ers, almost in a Rich Bisaccia type of way, they're the fight to get there, and they fought, and they got there, and now it's against Dallas. What does Dallas regularly do? And we don't normally, well, maybe we do talk about it, or maybe we don't, because how often does Dallas make it to the postseason? They choke.
Yeah.
There's some Chargers here with the Dallas Cowboys. Sorry, Cowboys fans. So the 49ers, they could be in preparation of that. And we know that they are kind of feeling their oats right now with Jimmy G.
Yeah. First, can we just say 49ers Cowboys? I mean, that used to be it, man. That was it, right?
He caught it. Mm-hmm.
80s, the 80s and the 90s, right? The team of the 80s against the team of the 90s. So this is fun. This is fun even to have the echoes of that matchup, and it's a super compelling matchup. And I don't want to blow up San Francisco too much, but you have to think if they can go into Dallas and beat this Dallas team, then they should feel comfortable. Like, they could go into Green Bay and beat Green Bay. I mean, actually, sometimes San Francisco has this Green Bay team's number under Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and the San Francisco is an interesting team, Cease, because they've already pondered their own mortality. They were down 24-17 with a minute 47 left. That was it. I mean, they needed a touchdown or their season was over. So they've already had to react to this. You
call it the crucible. They've already been there.
Yeah. Can you handle it? Like, how do you handle it knowing that this is it? Like, these plays are going to determine your fate. They're already there. So that's exciting because, like you said, Dallas is a team that maybe comes in a little slack. Mike McCarthy, we'll talk about that on the other side. It's funny, Cease. Mike McCarthy's like the opposite of Belichick, right? Like, when Belichick's in a playoff game, you're like, well, you always have to. It's Belichick. He might find a way to win. With McCarthy, it's like, it's McCarthy. They might find a way to lose. Anyway. Mistake-free football from Jimmy Garoppolo is important, and that might be a hard ask because why do I love this Dallas team so much? Even because of McCarthy, even in spite of McCarthy, I should say, because they can generate pressure with their front four. How many Super Bowl champs? We said it's because they're Broncos, right? Because they can generate pressure with their front four.
New York Giants,
New York Giants
package, yeah,
right. Generate pressure with your front four, And that's what this Dallas team can do. And we know that is the way to get at Jimmy and force those bad plays. But you also have Elijah Mitchell and Deebo Samuel activating that run game. Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel's name's getting out there now, by the way. You see that, Cease?
It should be out there.
Yeah, it should be. You also have, and by the way, Denver, as Cecil could chronicle, showed, hey, this Dallas defense, you can kind of push them out of the building, you know?
And I think George Kittle, the thing I think about San Francisco, which is exciting, is Deebo might do something we've never seen before. George Kittle might do something we've never seen before. I doubt Jimmy does, but still, like, there's a couple of players that are the X factors in terms of you can play a perfect game.
Right.
They're better than your game plan.
Right. Even Brandon Ayuk and Juwan Jennings are guys that can do some damage, and Dallas's defense can give up big plays. Trent Williams banged up here. I think this week 18 should be back. You know, that's a, you know, but hey, this is a game this is a popcorn game, and this is a game that could go a lot. It could have a couple of big swings in it, and we're gonna have on Sunday the Philly Tampa game. I mean, we can just wake up late, you know, go get brunch, Bloody Marys or something, and then this is the afternoon. We'll get our blood flowing. And certainly, Dallas is a team that makes me feel very conflicted. But when you just look at the players they have, Cease, they're built like a championship team.
Yeah, Sunday morning I might be going to Shields, sporting goods store, Bloom. Anyway, yeah, so there you go. Or Costco. I don't know. We don't know if we'll have time.
Costco, if we have time.
Yeah. Cowboys, do they have time? Does Mike McCarthy have time? And Zeeb, now would be the time to trap McCarthy in the elevator.
Right.
Give him food. You know, maybe the emergency crews be like, Mike, we're working on it. What time's the game? Yeah. Go for it. And of course, with the Cowboys, we already know what they're going to do. Can Dak rise above? Can this defense, which has exciting playmakers, can they rise above? What's Micah Parsons going to do, man? Like, there's a lot of star power in this game that makes you just want to watch.
Yeah. I mean, because on the San Francisco side, you got Nick Bosa, right? Got Fred Warner. These guys can, like you mentioned Kittle, and you mentioned Samuel. These guys can do things that turn a game. I want to go off on a tangent, if you allow me, Cease, because I don't get to do the couch anymore. Like, I'm going to do the couch for like a month or more. See, when you said kidnap McCarthy, you know what I thought of? You know what movie I thought of?
What's that?
9 to 5. Remember 9 to 5?
Of course, man. Dolly.
Remember 9 to 5?
An American treasure, Dolly Parton.
Oh, a true treasure. It was straight up subversive. Kidnapping your boss? Kidnap your boss? And remember, Dolly has like some stuff in her purse, you know? And then when they kidnap the boss, everything runs better, right? Everyone's like, this is a great place to work, right? Subversive. Now, I mean, that's a crime, kidnapping your boss. But the idea was, Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin. Oh, Lily Tomlin. Yeah, kidnap, like Dabney Coleman. Mike McCarthy is Dabney Coleman. Playoff Dak is pretty good. He's 1-2 in the playoffs, but he's pretty good. Remember, he lost to Green Bay. He lost to McCarthy, actually, in his first playoff game. And they eked out a win, I think, over the Rams. Or lost to the Rams, eked out a win over Seattle. So, but he's played well. Like, he's not going to shrink in the playoffs. We're not going to see Dak Prescott shrink or even do kind of what we were worried maybe Josh Allen will do against New England and start misfiring. I don't think we're going to see that. Dak's playing pretty well. He's out of his slump. They lost Michael Gallup to Cedric Wilson. He can play. People are learning that. They got Blake Jarwin back, which is important for the running game because Dalton Schultz not necessarily getting it done as a blocker. San Francisco secondary has problems. There are lots of players you can throw out there. And you've got Amari Cooper, you've got CeeDee Lamb. Oh, by the way, you have Ezekiel Elliott, who is seeming like he's over his knee injury. You have Tony Pollard, plantar fasciitis. They should have this San Francisco defense on the run, on the ropes. I did run and ropes at the same time, Cease. Run ropes. It's just Mike McCarthy. It's just the idea of this team tightening up. Teams take on the personality of their head coach and their quarterback. Now, Dak Prescott personality is going to be relaxed, focused, and ready.
Teams do that, Bloom, if they don't have an owner like Jerry Jones. They take on the personality of Jerry because Jerry's going to be down on the field. You know if something's going wrong, he'll be on the sidelines. Be like, what's going on here? We're going to win that playoff game.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? That's why, like, I want to see Dak Prescott triumph more than anybody else on this team. Like, I want to see him get his moment. but it's Jerry, and Jerry gets to profit from it, even though Jerry hemmed and hawed for years when Dak deserved security. And Jerry would have saved some of his precious money if he had actually trusted Dak, and we wouldn't, so it's conflict here. This is a great conflict. This is a classic playoff matchup. It should be a classic game, and absolutely the team that wins this game can win the Super Bowl.
My heart says the Steelers can do it. But
you got that heart check lately, Cease?
Yeah,
been to your cardiologist?
I live in Colorado and I have heart issues. And I'm like, oh, wait a second. No. No, in fact, no. Steelers and Chiefs is our next game up. And again, retirement party of Ben Roethlisberger brought to you by Kansas City. Kansas City at home. And they are feeling their oats. Pittsburgh. Well, they're lucky to get here. Now, we could say any given Sunday. We could say all the football cliches that you want to, Bloom. But Najee Harris, did he practice today? We're recording on Thursday. He didn't practice yesterday. So your key for the Steelers actually would be a healthy Najee Harris. He's not healthy. So your best chance to win, and we're talking about what, 10% chance, 5% chance, 1% chance, whatever it is?
Less than
okay,
one.
That's with a healthy Najee. What is it without a healthy Najee or a banged up Najee? Like, okay, on paper, as much as I would love it, and as much as the odd makers, I mean, just look at the odds, right?
Like 12 and a half or something.
I did a parlay of all the favorites, and like you terrible odds, right? It's not even worth it. And then I did a parlay with all the favorites, and then I put the Steelers instead of the Chiefs. And then all of a sudden, like 50 to win 1,000 or whatever. Gambling's illegal at Bushwood, but whatever. Like, yeah, the odds makers, everyone has, they know. Everyone knows what we know, Bloom. Yeah. Steelers ain't got no shot.
It's not happening. Look, the simplest way I can put it is this, Cease. Can we get Dan Campbell to coach the Steelers on a Sunday? Can we do that? Because then I would feel better. Because you have to have that attitude. Fake punts, going for it on fourth down, pulling everything out of your playbook. Now, unfortunately, you're limited by Ben Roethlisberger. So really what you're going to try to do is put together excruciatingly long drives. Yes. And don't settle for field goals. Even if you turn the ball over at the 14 on 4th and 2, don't settle for field goals. Field goals ain't going to get it done. There's no freaking, almost did it, Cease, excuse for the Steelers to try a field goal in this game. There's no compatible game script with field goals and the Steelers winning. Okay? You have to go in and you have to be willing to do it. And look, the one thing Roethlisberger did show, he's not quite Justin Herbert, Cease, but in that Baltimore game, he showed like, hey, again, like my career, this season, same thing, mortality, tasting your own mortality, right? Steelers already had that. So carry that over, but unfortunately, you carry it over to a mindset of preparation and a game plan from Mike Tomlin, and I just don't think Mike Tomlin's going to think, yeah, Najee Harris. Mike Tomlin's going to think like play field position, get some turnovers, right? Maybe Ray will break something in the return game. Like that.
He'll think field goal. He'll think conservative.
Let's just keep it low scoring.
Right.
And of course, remember, you got the Honey Badger, 7th Ward right down the street. I got my breakfast in the 7th Ward this morning. You've got.
Humble brag.
Yeah, baby. I'm always going to brag about being a New Orleanian. Chris Jones, of course, up front. The Chiefs, I mean, like you said, Cease, they're feeling their oats. And this is a Steelers defense. You can talk, how do the Steelers win? Well, the Watt and Minka and Cameron Hayward, okay? But the thing is, Patrick Mahomes has seen the Steelers defense twice, and he's just laughed. He scoffed at it.
Mm-hmm. He pushed it away ever so gently. The Chiefs are better with Darrell Williams. We've talked about that. And against the Steelers, pass rush, draw play, screen passes. Again, football 101. Steelers are going to try to get after him. Fine. And Kansas City, what's interesting and maybe not fun for fans, Bloom, Kansas City has learned to be patient. Mm-hmm. Kansas City has learned to chip away. Pat Mahomes, when people were questioning, what's wrong with Pat Mahomes? Because he's trying to score 14 points every time he throws. When they got that out of him, then he's comfortable chipping away. Chipping away, and then taking those shots. That's what makes him so dangerous, is because now they have patience. Happy learned how to putt.
Yeah, right.
And that's what makes Kansas City a Super Bowl champion.
And they trust their defense, too. They trust their defense, and their defense is getting off the field. Remember, their defense was giving up long drives. In some ways, I think Eric Stoner was one to point this out, of putting long drives together has really helped revive their defense, in addition to the addition of Melvin Ingram, who gets a second revenge game against the Steelers this year. What can you say? I'll put it like this. And you want a deep sleeper. I already mentioned Brashad Perryman. How about Jerick McKinnon? Because Darrell Williams a little banged up with a toe. Clyde Edwards-Helaire coming in with that shoulder. And injuries happen during the game, too. And Jerick McKinnon could be someone who plays a big role in this
Jet's
game.
one of those guys that if you just give him a crease, it's a 80-yard touchdown.
Right. And
watch out for him.
If they jump out ahead like they did, I think the first game was like 36-10, but it was not even that close. 36-10 and not even that close. And Mahomes threw 6 touchdowns the only other time he faced the Steelers. So McKinnon could get a lot of second half work here. Here's your DFS ace up your sleeve. I'll just leave it like this, Cecil. The only team that I think can beat the Chiefs in the AFC is the Bengals. It's the only team I think can beat them.
Okay. I got an idea for the Steelers, though, Bloom. As our guy Mookie says, put all the chips on the table. Steelers, if it's not working, put in Gardner Minshew.
The trade mid-game. Amend the NFL rules.
Yeah, please
Steelers
don't at me. You moron. The Steelers don't have Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
Oh, really? You think? Oh, okay.
Not yet. They don't have him right now.
Hey, we're going to do it next year anyway. Can we just have him now?
Yeah, exactly. Backsies.
There you go. Monday night. Is Matthew Stafford going to Matthew Stafford on Monday night? Vance Joseph getting some head coaching love as well. VJ will be better in his next stop. When John Elway would tell him what players needed to play, and Vance Joseph would have to go on Saturday and tell his coaches, like, I know we did this game plan all week, but I have to play this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. Huh? How do you run a franchise like that? No wonder it sucked. Well, now VJ, Miami requested an interview, I believe, with Vance Joseph.
Good for him.
So there you go. Arizona and the LA Rams, we're back, right? That's what you have to say with the Arizona Cardinals. And well, we're talking about that Cardinals defense because are they going to make Matthew Stafford look like Matthew Stafford? Bad Matthew Stafford, by the way. And then the Cardinals offense. We know no DeAndre Hopkins is back. So Christian Kirk, AJ Green, get ready to do more. And littering. And what's that mean for Kyler Murray on Monday?
Yeah, Cease. This is a one where of all the games we've talked about, this is one where a team could just back into a win. Like, you just have to be not the worst team on the field to win this game, right? Dallas, San Francisco, you have to be the best team on the field. Buffalo, New England, you have to be the best team on the field, right? This one, just don't be the worst team on the field. Don't finish second, right?
Right.
Don't blow out a tire, because without DeAndre Hopkins, this has not been a very inspiring Cardinals offense. Kyler Murray can still move the ball. You mentioned some of the pieces they have there, but you have Connor and Edmonds banged up. You're not really establishing the run, I don't think. And you have, you're going to have to count on players like A.J. Green. You count on Antoine Wesley, Zach Ertz. Wesley and Ertz were players that a month into the season, no one would ever dream we'd be talking about as important players in this offense. Now, they're super familiar with the Rams. These teams super familiar with each other. Again, a rubber match. The split here was Arizona soundly beat the Rams earlier in the year, and then the Rams beat Murray his second week back from that ankle injury. It was the last game they had Hopkins, I think. But Ramsey was good at taking away Hopkins. In some ways, I guess you could say that Ramsey's value is less because there's not anybody that's as important to take away in this Cardinals offense. You just need to be resourceful, avoid Aaron Donald, just no turnovers, no plays that gift the Rams field position or points. By the way, Rams defense will have Eric Weddle back. Now they're saying he's not going to play Jordan because Jordan Fuller's out. By the way, if you want a reason to bet on the Cardinals, Jordan Fuller had the green dot. He's out. Weddle's not going to replace him. They're going to see he's been playing basketball. Hey, I've been playing basketball so I can still hang in the NFL. Well, Audible alum. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He may be out there in specific situations and coverage and things like that to help them out. So interesting story there. But the Cardinals, in some ways, get the easiest draw. They should, of course, as the 5 seed, and try to get some momentum because next week they aren't going to face a team that doesn't believe in their quarterback.
that doesn't believe in their quarterback. And Rams fans, do you believe Spinsky talking about he may need to have a drink?
Yeah.
Come on, is what he says. So there, that one's for you, Spinsky. Come on. What are they doing with Matthew Stafford? And how do they make sure Stafford doesn't become Stafford on Monday night?
Right, that's the whole story. I mean, that's what makes this an interesting game to end on Wild Card Weekend, because it's about the individual stories of Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay. With Stafford, you almost want to apologize to Lions fans, right? Like, we thought you had a quarterback and you had Stafford, but you actually had this. You knew. We just weren't watching that closely because it was the Lions. But now Stafford is, well, he's the reason they're losing, or the reason if they win in spite of him. And Sean McVay's coaching like that. Stunning. I'll say this for years. Just stunning that he would not call a pass, Sean McVay, on 3rd and 7 to win the game. If you went through all this to get Matthew Stafford, and there's one play to win the division and get the number 2 seed, and you don't trust your quarterback, where are you? Where are you? Now, they do have, of course, Odell Beckham, Cooper Kupp, and we can't say enough about him. But, Cease, does this feel like a Cam Akers game?
Should.
It should, right? I mean, if he's knocked off the rust, you know what Sony Michel can do. Sony Michel is competent, but Cam Akers can be much more than competent. Why not? What would make sense to me, based on where Sean McVay is, what he's showing us by not even trusting Matthew Stafford to throw a pass on 3rd and 7 with the game on the line, is that if he can, he's going to give the Akers the ball 30 times? I was almost going to say 35 times. The Cardinals' run defense is probably something that you can attack, keep them on the field, extend the game, and extend the drives, shorten the game, and it's low percentage as far as exposure on Stafford. Maybe you set up more play action for Stafford. Doesn't Sean McVay want to just run the ball anyway? So it feels like this could be a Cam Akers game. I think it's going to be an ugly game. I think it's going to be, again, like who makes fewer mistakes, or who doesn't choke, or who doesn't shrink under the spotlight. And it's a little bit of a contrast to how we're going to look at these other games. He's potentially launching Super Bowl contenders, right? Tampa, hopefully Buffalo, maybe Cincinnati, certainly Dallas. I mean, these are all teams, like, if you are going to be a Super Bowl contender, Kansas City, of course, you win this game. This game, I don't know if we're going to get a divisional week winner out of the winner of this one.
It's going to be a fun way to end Wild Card Weekend.
Yeah,
to be sure.
It's the Matthew Stafford soap opera with the Sean McVay soap opera actually being the story if you're looking closely.
If you look close enough, you're like, wait a second. Trouble in Paradise. Okay. Trouble in the NFL. All right. Wild Card Weekend is always fun, always interesting, always exciting because of you. And we appreciate each and every one of you for watching this show and doing all those YouTube things. Are we over 15,000 yet?
I don't know.
I'll look. Stall for me, Bloom. Do the dance. 14,929. 14,929. Come on, go tell your friends. That Football Guys, that's a pretty good show. Hey there, youtube.com/footballguys, and like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. He's Sigmund, I'm Cecil. We are the Audible. Do we do a wild card recap?
I don't know.
I'm thinking, maybe.
We'll see.
We'll talk about it. Yeah, we'll talk about it. But we are here for you, and we enjoy your presence. And thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. As always, stay tuned and stay frosty.